For the 57th time, Cynthia Prescott used her $60,000 Escalade to demolish my trash can, so I replaced it with one made of solid concrete and watched her SUV crumple against it instead. This campaign of morning property destruction concluded with criminal charges, a $12,000 settlement, and a very expensive lesson about targeting the wrong neighbor. Imagine this: the sharp crack of plastic shattering the dawn silence, followed by the grating scrape of a bumper on asphalt as a pearl-white Escalade flees the scene, leaving my garbage strewn across the driveway like celebratory confetti. But here's the thing about bullies: they don't expect their targets to counterattack with literal, concrete evidence. By the time I was finished, this self-crowned compliance czar had wrecked her own vehicle, exposed a $47,000 embezzlement plot, and learned that some neighbors cannot be intimidated by clipboards. An imagined authority. Let's go back to the beginning. My name is David Miller. I'm 45, an electrician for 22 years, and in the midst of a divorce, fighting for joint custody of my two teenagers, Sophia, 16, and Leo, 14. We reside in Pinewood Gardens, one of those master-planned communities where every lawn must be precisely 2.5 inches tall. I purchased the corner lot house 3 years ago, hoping for a fresh start. What I didn't account for was Cynthia Prescott, a 52-year-old widow who had appointed herself the neighborhood's compliance officer, a title that, incidentally, does not exist in our bylaws. Cynthia drives a pearl-white Escalade, has no children, and retired from managing a bank. She knows every HOA rule by heart and is close friends with the HOA president, Arthur Vance, which grants her a certain immunity. My corner lot requires me to place my trash bin near the street every Tuesday, right where Cynthia takes her power walk at exactly 6:15 a.m. The first incident happened in September. I heard a loud crack and rushed outside to find my trash can. Annihilated. Cynthia, backing up her Escalade, rolled down her window with a look of feigned concern. "Oh dear," she cooed, her voice devoid of sincerity. "These roads are simply too tight for modern vehicles." That first week, it happened 3 more times. By the following week, I knew it was deliberate. Mrs. Gable, my elderly neighbor, confirmed it. "She takes the long way around on purpose," she told me. I tried to reason with Cynthia, but she cut me off with a sickly sweet smile, lecturing me on placement timing adjustments. That night, I researched property rights. I discovered that trash cans on a public right-of-way are still personal property, and our HOA has no specific rules about their materials or placement timing. By the end of the month, I was out $92 for 4 new trash cans, and my kids were stressed by the daily drama. That's when Cynthia started smirking during her morning demolition runs. Game on. 2 weeks into October, Cynthia escalated. I received a certified letter citing me for improper trash receptacle placement, creating a traffic hazard, with a threat of $50 in daily fines. I dove into municipal law and found the jackpot. City code requires trash placement within 3 feet of ye. The curb and HOA jurisdiction ends at the property line. They couldn't regulate it. I armed myself with a Ring camera, a professional survey confirming my compliance, and a written statement from Mrs. Gable. Meanwhile, Cynthia flooded the Nextdoor app with posts about reckless homeowners endangering children. A friend at City Hall tipped me off that 4 separate complaints about my dangerous corner had been filed anonymously at 2:47 a.m., all written in the same style. By Thursday's board meeting, I had a file thick enough to stop a door. I stood up and read the city ordinance aloud, displayed my survey results, and casually mentioned my consultation with Laura Chen, a renowned property rights attorney. President Vance, flustered, tabled the matter for further review. As we were leaving, Cynthia cornered me in the parking lot. "You think you're so smart?" she hissed, loud enough for others to hear. "People like you come into decent neighborhoods and think rules don't apply. This is just the beginning." The racial undertones were unmistakable, and my phone, recording from my shirt pocket, captured every poisonous word. November arrived, and Cynthia weaponized every obscure bylaw she could find. I received violations for my grass being a quarter-inch too tall, my mailbox color fading, and 3 minuscule tears in my window screens. I spent a Saturday documenting identical violations on 14 other properties, including President Vance's, and filed a formal complaint with the board for selective and discriminatory enforcement. Over the past year, 49 of her 67 violation notices had been issued to single parents, the elderly, or minorities, a pattern that practically screamed lawsuit. My real breakthrough came from a conversation with Gus Romano, a man who has poured concrete for 23 years. He pointed out a simple fact I'd overlooked. There's nothing in the city code about what materials a trash can must be made of. For a total cost of $47, I created my masterpiece, a standard plastic shell reinforced with 60 pounds of steel rebar, concrete. From the outside, it looked completely normal. Inside, it was an immovable object waiting to teach a lesson in physics. The following Monday, I placed my reinforced can in its usual spot. At 6:15, Cynthia's Escalade approached. The first collision, at her usual 15-meter mph, was glorious. Instead of a crunch, there was a solid thunk and the screech of metal. Her running, board bent like foil. My trash can sat there, mildly scuffed. Confused, she revved her engine and tried again. Same result, more damage to her vehicle. Over the next week, she made increasingly desperate attempts, each one leaving new dents and scratches on her Escalade, while my can remained smugly intact. By mid-November, Cynthia had become a private investigator, obsessed with my trash can. Mrs. Gable saw her in my driveway late at night with a flashlight and a scale, trying to weigh it. She interrogated our maintenance guy about concrete purchases and stalked my social media. She even filed a complaint with a building inspector about unauthorized concrete structures, but he left after confirming it was just a garbage can. When the HOA demanded access to my property for an inspection, I politely refused, citing case law that prevents HOAs from conducting fishing expeditions without a court order. Meanwhile, her Escalade became a rolling testament to the durability of my creation. Helen Reed, the only reasonable board member, pulled me aside and told me Cynthia was pushing the board for enhanced enforcement authority and was trying to approve maintenance contracts with a company she'd never heard of. That's when I started a different kind of investigation. Public records are a wonderful thing. I discovered Prescott Homes and Repair LLC, formed 6 months ago, with Cynthia as a 40% owner and her husband as president. The timeline was damning. The company was formed in May, its first HOA bid was in July, and her harassment against me began in September, just 12 days after I had innocently asked about our high-maintenance budget. Over the past 4 months, her company had been awarded 7 contracts totaling $23,400, each time underbidding the competition by just enough to win. She had voted to approve every single one. The conflict of interest was blatant. She was funneling community dues into her own bank account. My concrete trash can hadn't just been a nuisance. It had become a threat to her entire criminal enterprise. Tuesday evening, my garage became a war room. Mrs. Gable, our maintenance guy Jim, Helen Reed, Gus Romano, and I assembled our team. We planned a multi-pronged attack. Legal pressure with criminal complaints, social pressure through a community petition, political pressure via media attention, and financial pressure with a demand for a full audit. The community response was overwhelming. Our Pinewood Gardens Transparency Facebook group exploded with members sharing their own stories. Someone posted a time-lapse video of Cynthia's morning collisions set to circus music that went viral. The weekend before the board meeting, Cynthia's desperation peaked. She spray-painted "Move" on my trash can, which I pressure-washed off in seconds while my camera recorded her license plate. An anonymous complaint to the gas company brought another inspector, who found nothing. She hired a private security company to watch my house. But the final straw was when she planted a GPS tracker on my work truck, which my son discovered. I took it straight to the police. Officer Derek Martinez confirmed this had escalated into criminal territory. Simultaneously, her fraudulent insurance claim for road hazard damage was denied and referred to the state's fraud unit, thanks to my 53 documented collision videos. The night of the board meeting, the community center was packed with over 100 residents and 3 news crews. I had wheeled in my concrete trash can as Exhibit A. I stood up and systematically dismantled her entire narrative. I presented the 57 collision attempts, the GPS tracker, the vandalism, the insurance fraud, and finally, the financial analysis, showing the $47,000 she had embezzled from the community. The room erupted. When confronted, Cynthia's composure shattered. "This is harassment!" she screamed, her meltdown captured by every camera in the room. "I built this community. I protected property values." Officer Martinez walked in, holding a warrant for insurance fraud and stalking. Helen Reed made a motion for Cynthia's immediate suspension. The vote was unanimous. The aftermath was swift. Cynthia resigned, the DA filed fraud charges, and her contractor's license was revoked. The HOA audit recovered the full $47,000, and every homeowner received a refund check. Her husband called one last time to confirm a $2,500 civil settlement was in the mail, adding that Cynthia was moving to Florida. The governance of Pinewood Gardens was transformed. Helen Lopez was elected president, and we implemented new rules for transparency. The recovered money funded a playground renovation. My concrete trash can became a neighborhood legend, now displayed in the community center lobby with a plaque that reads, "Property Rights Protected, 2023. The settlement money established a scholarship for students who demonstrate creative problem-solving against institutional opposition. My custody evaluation improved, my business boomed, and my kids learned a lesson no textbook could teach. She even tried to file a restraining order, but it was too late. The law, much like my trash can, was immovable. If you want to see more Karen's Face Concrete Justice, make sure you subscribe to this Drama Lady Files channel.